What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm Arris and with Tim Conley.
Yes, that's right. Greetings, Variant Nation.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
It's a very special one, Tim.
We have arrived.
Our shirts say it all. If you're
That's
watching this, we are both wearing matching the Batman
That's
shirts.
right. You could tell we came ready today.
Yeah, this was kind of planned. I mean, we joked about it a while ago.
Yeah, we did.
Shirt wise, and
But we both remembered, so that said something.
Yeah. But we are in a world, Tim, where we have seen the Batman.
That's right.
The 2 hour and 56-minute 3 hours. It's 3 minutes.
hours
The
long.
3 hour
3 hours.
movie. And we're about to give our spoiler-free thoughts
Yes.
here. And then on we're gonna give the spoiler version on the long-winded podcast later on.
So essentially today, right now, we're going to give our short form, spoiler-free opinion on the film as a whole. So for those of you who do not want to hear about spoilers, you haven't seen the film, this is the one you want to watch and listen to, because we're just going to talk very kind of broadly and vaguely without any spoilers. And then we're going to follow that up with a full spoiler conversation about the film in its entirety this Friday.
Yep.
So that'll be on both the podcast channel, as well as on the audio platform.
I'm excited to let loose for that one.
Yeah.
Because there's just things that I can't say right now, but I'm going to say for the other one.
So for those of you who do want to stay on for that, keep an eye out for that on Friday. So you'll be able to hear all of the thoughts. And many of you will probably have already seen the movie by then too.
This is true.
So,
But
let's get into some spoiler-free discussion.
Yes.
And thoughts and opinions about the Batman.
I want to just start, because I hate when I watch like people's opinions or reviews and they wait till like the end and be like, well, did you like it or did you not?
Yeah, right.
So out the gate, I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I sat on it because I've only seen it once as we're talking about it right now.
Right.
So I do need to see it again before like cemented thoughts. But like it's been less than 24 hours. We saw it last night.
We just saw a special screening last night, and we're fresh off the boat.
Right. So it hasn't even been a full 24 hours with us yet. But if 1 to 10 for me, I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because I really, really enjoyed it, but it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really liked it. And I think the thing that overnight I was sitting on it, because I liked it out the gate, but the more I thought about it, I actually brought references here for people listening.
You brought props.
So I got props for people, watching rather. I got props here that relate to the movie, some great Batman novels. But the more I thought of it, I just loved the moodiness of it, because it's weird. It's like, the best way to sum it up is like, it's a very familiar yet new Batman movie.
I think that's a good assessment.
Because, you know, it's obviously what everyone's saying is true. It's got the detective,
Yeah.
very much detective,
Yes.
vibe going
Emphasis on that, yeah.
And then a little bit of the noir in there. But it's got, so the detective aspect, we've never seen in a live action Batman movie before.
Right.
So that's what makes it so fresh in that sense for a
Not
Batman
on this
movie.
level.
This was like,
It was a full detective film.
100%.
Which they told us in advance.
like there was actually, it's crazy because there was action in the movie. There was a good amount of action in the movie. But there was way more of Batman just at crime scenes, figuring stuff out with like Gordon or the cops and just detective work, which is great. That's the world's greatest detective. That's what you want. We never really got a live action Batman movie like that. So that was awesome seeing. And then there's a lot of familiar stuff in the film, obviously. There's definitely nods to the Nolan Batman trilogy, Batman the Animated Series, which I was like, yes.
Yep.
And then tons of nods to some of the greatest Batman novels ever, which is why I have these books here, like The Dark Knight Returns. Whoa, hit the mic. The Dark Knight Returns, Long Halloween, Batman Hush, and Court of Owls. Because the way the movie starts, not really a spoiler, is there's just lots of narration from Batman himself.
Right.
And that is very heavy in almost every great Batman novel, where you just hear Batman talking while
you read.
Well, you read, yeah, okay. You read in the books, but in the movie, I'm saying, in the movie, you hear him talking over, seeing scenarios in the city, just what's going on in the city. It's kind of reminded me, Batman, did it. Well, I guess Batman did it first. Yeah, Batman did it first, but it kind of reminded me of Rorschach in the Watchmen movie, the live action Watchmen movie, where it's that detective narrating. It's very noir in detective film. It's just, really, really cool to see that on the live.
We were joking after the film that it reminded us of, like a Maltese Falcon. Old school detective film. It's like, I was shitting in my office when she walked in. The perfume riddled through the air. That sort of a thing.
And I also really dug how the mood of Batman, like at the beginning, he didn't even talk much.
I would say that's true throughout the film.
Yeah, but for me, you know what it is,
and then I want to be careful what I say here because this is spoiler free. But yeah, this was a very young Batman who was very much trying to figure things out, and as a result, he's very reserved.
I think what I'm trying to say is Matt Reeves, Pattinson, everyone involved found that awesome Batman mood where like he's mysterious. Mm-hmm. People even around him are like, this was this freaking freak weirdo, like that kind of stuff. And he's very much like Batman, where it's just like he just looks at people.
Yeah,
he doesn't say much. He's just like, and someone will make fun of him or he'll say something like freaking accost him. He'll just look at them.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, like I love that tone.
I kind of feel like that was true throughout many Batman films that we've seen so far.
I think this did it better.
They did it more. I'll say,
but it was.
I don't know about better. They just did it more.
For me, I think it was better because the vibe, again, you have to watch the movie. The mood and vibe of it, I thought was perfect. Maybe because it was in that more detective vibe or the cinematography went along with just the feel. It's a dark. It's a very moody movie, and where obviously the Snyderverse is a little more violent, but more fun in the sense it's more not campy, but it's more like fantastical. This one was a little more serious. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to put it. It's more
heavy. It's a heavy serious movie. It's heavy. It
because you see Batman, like you see in the trailer, it's not a spoiler. You see Batman coming to a crime scene where like the Riddler's just duct taped someone's face and brutally murdered him. It's like, so that just, it's a heavy film, and Batman interacting with the cops and all that stuff, and the way he's interacting with them and the way they're interacting with him and how they're kind of, he's been Batman 2 years at this point. They're kind of getting used to him.
Yeah.
Is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. There's some of the relationships in the film are really good. So I guess for me, I'll start by saying from my take is I'm a slight step down from where Arris is at. So Arris gave it like an 8 out of 10. So I don't like rating films. I was a slight step down. I feel, here's where I'm at. I feel like I need to see this film again.
I definitely need to see it again
because a lot of the issues or the feelings that I have about the film that coming out of it was, I think, my own doing, because I had expectations for this film that were at a certain level, and I didn't feel like that it hit them on many fronts. So I left kind of really torn because it was not what I had kind of envisioned in my head, which again, that's my fault. Mm-hmm. That's me kind of projecting onto something when they were telling us like, look, this is a detective film, all this kind of thing. I just didn't realize to what extent they were going to go with that. Mm-hmm. And so but also for me, I feel like this film could have been shorter. I feel like it was too long. This is subjective, right? This is the filmmaker's cut of the film. That's what he wanted to make, and that's what we should have gotten. But for me, as a viewer, I feel like it should have been shorter. I feel like there was easily I don't want to say that. I think there was things that you could have left out of the film that could have made it shorter, that was picked up the pace a little bit. Mm-hmm. So there was some pacing issues for me that just kind of made it dragging at where it dragged at certain points. All the performances were great. Everybody's performance was great. The showstoppers for me was Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
He was in this movie?
Yeah, he's in this movie. Believe it or not, you would not know.
Yeah, his transformation is
crazy.
And that
is really the key. Like, you thought it was crazy seeing what we saw from the trailers, but when you see him in this film, and I won't say anything about it, but his performance in this film, if they did not tell us, mm-hmm. and they just left it up for everyone to guess, I don't know that anyone would guess who that was.
It's true.
You cannot tell this was Colin Farrell. It's that good. Every scene he's in, he steals it.
How excited are you now for his HBO Max series?
I'm at a level 10. I got to rope myself back again because his performance was just absolutely, he just stole every scene he was in. The second one for me, and this is admittedly a ton of bias here, Andy Serkis as Alfred. Mm-hmm. He's not a prominent character in the film in the sense of he's not one of the main focuses, but I loved him as Alfred. I loved him in Bruce's relationship and how it starts out. Mm-hmm. So those were my two favorites, but honestly, everybody was good in the film. There was all the performances. Zoe Kravitz.
She was great.
Was fantastic as Selena Kyle. I just really, really thought she killed it. She just embodied that character, especially the more modern versions of Selena Kyle. I just thought she really they nailed that casting really well. And then
John Turturro.
John Turturro as
Dude.
Carmine Falcone. So good. I had forgotten that he was the cast for that. And so when he popped up, I was like, oh, because I love John Turturro.
Movie?
Yeah, I love him. He's such a great actor. And in the right role, he's just, I mean,
sneaky.
Brilliant. he's so things like everything from Mr. Deeds to, what was that show on HBO?
Oh, the great, it
was that crime drama.
Something Night.
Oh.
Where the guy.
It happened one night, was it? Or no, what am I talking about? Anyway,
it was
that
a great
HBO
series.
crime drama.
He was the lawyer.
He played the attorney, just amazing. So he's a great actor. You remember Quiz Show from back in the 90s?
I don't actually.
Directed by Robert Redford. Anyway, he's great in that too.
Even the Transformer films. He's hilarious in Transformer films.
Yeah, he's funny. He's a great dramatic actor, and he plays really good like crime bosses, like or people that are in that
he's
world.
scary.
And he's amazing as Carmine Falcone. So all of the casting, the performances, all good. It was really just there was some story things for me that didn't quite land for me personally. That it made it feel. I just kind of wish certain things were different. I'll get into all of my full reasoning on that and thoughts on that in the spoiler version of this.
I agree with you on the pacing. That's one of my grapes. My grapes. It's one of my grapes.
You have grapes? You have grapes on the film.
I got them in my fridge. No, that's one of my gripes. Is I do agree that the movie could have. 20, 30 minutes could have been trimmed down. But, again, overall, I really enjoy. I agree with everything you said. I don't think there's a character or performance in this film that I did not like.
Yeah.
That I can't, because you have obviously Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, Farrell as Penguin, Paul Dano as the Riddler was great.
Paul Dano as the Riddler.
John Turturro, Falcone. It was just, dude.
And I don't want to forget
Jeffrey Wright.
That's what I was about to say. I don't want to forget Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon is fantastic. Gordon and Bruce Wayne, Batman's relationship is great throughout the film. And Jeffrey Wright, I love Jeffrey Wright in everything he's in. He's not really a character actor per se, even though some of his characters are slightly different, but his persona is so good. He's kind of like a Denzel for me in that he's just good in everything because his whole presence is just so strong. And he's so solid every time he's in a role. You know that whatever he's playing, it's just going to be solid.
His relationship with Batman, they're back and forth, and you're seeing the beginning stages of it and how it's really only Gordon who trusts Batman or Vigilante or Vengeance,
and kind of vice versa. And even Gordon starting to figure some things out. It just that the progression of their relationship I thought was one of the highlights of the film. Also. Really good. But, so again, all the performances were great. None of that was the issue. It was more story-driven for me, some of the tone, and at points. I want to be careful with that, too. And then really was the pacing and the length. That's just, it was... that was really kind of, I walked away from it going, okay. But I liked the film. I don't want to make it sound like I still liked the film a lot. I thought they did a great job with it. And it left me like, I really want to see where they're going.
You want to see the trilogy now?
Yeah. Well, just how they're going to build this world out. Because we know we're getting the GCPD show. We know we're getting the Penguin series. We're getting more films. So I want to see, okay, where does it go from here?
Yeah, I am super curious. I think my two big gripes with not even big gripes, it's because obviously I still give it a very high score and I like it a lot, is the pacing. But also, I kind of felt, I think I said this on a past podcast, I definitely said it to you, that one of my worries was that this film, just from watching trailers and TV spots, felt like maybe it was going to be a little bit too much I don't want to say in vain of the Nolan films, but a grounded Batman like the Nolan films, where it was just like a more grounded, quote unquote, realistic take on the character. And it kind of was. It was definitely a more, because it definitely wasn't like a Keaton or Batfleck Batman, where those are definitely more like fantastical, like comic book, where this, obviously comic book, but it's more grounded, serious, stuff like that. So it makes me a little worried for future when it's like, will they not introduce villains like a Clayface or a Man-Bat or stuff like that? And if they do, are they going to make it like super like, this is how it would be in a quote unquote real world situation? And that's definitely played true throughout the film, where it was definitely a more grounded Batman. But I don't know. This is second year of Batman, so maybe as it progresses in the second, third film, it'll get more fantastical. I know Matt Reeves said he has ideas, or he would love to explore a grounded Mr. Freeze for a sequel. But the grounded part is kind of those kind of like little keywords are like, but okay, grounded. So a realistic take on it. So very cool, but I just don't want it to be, because we already got a Nolan trilogy. We already got a realistic take on Batman. I want a middle ground.
I do think,
which I think this is, I mean, this might be a middle ground. It kind of is. I don't know.
That's why I say, like, you have to be careful with like the Nolan trilogy, because Batman Begins was very different from The Dark Knight in its tone.
Yeah.
There was more of a comic book, fantastical feel. I felt like Batman Begins, they did a better job of doing that middle ground.
Yeah.
Then when we got to The Dark Knight, it was much more, you felt like you were in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was much more grounded. It was much more real world tech. It was very, that was when I felt like they really fully embraced this grounded real world Batman.
Well, that's why
this movie, The Batman, I thought felt more like Batman Begins than The Dark Knight.
It did. I think that's why I'm saying that I'm just curious to see where it's gonna go from here, because now you could either double down on like one way or another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
So I personally like the more comic book fantastical take on Batman. Not obviously,
but you can go too far with that too.
It's true. Obviously not Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. Right. I personally think the Batfleck was a very happy
I agree.
ground.
Yeah,
like I love that as that tone of where it's like it's brutal, violent, but still like, oh, fantastical Superman. Because that's another thing too, where we've heard Matt Reeves and stuff say where like this is not, it's its own thing, but he doesn't want like this to be connected, Superman to be in here, Wonder Woman to be on here, where it's like, well, is that because they don't fit in this world you built, where like that those kind of super beings wouldn't exist?
Like it's hyper real.
Right. So that's, we don't know yet, but things like that are being said by the director and stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, I hope that doesn't mean you're going to keep everything super grounded forever.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
It's too early to tell, but
and we can't really get in much more than that without getting into spoiler territory. But I would say overall, both of us liked the film.
I really liked it a little bit.
You're a slight notch above me in terms of where you were left after the first viewing of the film. And if you're wondering why I didn't say more about Paul Dano as a Ridler, one, I can't really say much without it getting spoilery.
Yeah.
Past what you already know and have seen in the trailers, all of us have. And the one thing I will say is, when you already said it, his performance is great. There's a couple moments where I thought were over the top, but his performance is great. Past that, we can't really say much about the Riddler without it going full spoiler.
He was just really, really good. I love Paul Dano. If you guys like Paul Dano, you're gonna like him in this film. He's crazy.
Without question.
He's crazy. Crazy.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. But with that, the rest of our conversation moves on to full spoiler discussion.
Yes.
Which, again, you will find for those of you who want to be a part of that conversation. Here are full spoiler thoughts on the movie, The Batman. That will be this Friday on both the podcast channels, audio, and here on the Variant, the podcast YouTube channel.
Watch it, listen, enjoy.
Yeah. So join us for that if you're interested. Other than that, I think that wraps us up.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time when we talk spoilers about the Batman.